What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Caitlin Leggett, your favorite journalist, digital media, all the things, and washed athlete girly, okay? Back with another episode of the She Don't Miss podcast. Thank you. Where we're talking to all your favorite female athletes of different sports at different levels, doing different things, and it's just a candid conversation, okay? Today, I have my girl, Inonge Kaloustian. We actually met my freshman year of college. If you know, you know. A little tidbit about me: I went to school at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, right down the street from Boston, okay? And Inonge is a soccer star. Thank you. Shout out to her. Okay, she played at Clark University. She got a degree at Johns Hopkins University after that, and then she went back to play. Her family is from Zambia. She went back to play for the national team of Zambia. Shout out to my girl Inonge, okay? Also, me and Inonge lived in DC and we never saw each other, okay? Well, she lived in PG, but like we literally never saw each other, and I hate that for me. You think you have time and then you move. So, yeah, let's get into it. But I want to also give you the space to kind of introduce yourself, and then I'll get into some questions. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Inonge. So glad to be on the show today with Caitlin. Yeah, I feel like, what can I say about myself?
It's such a
I'm
hard
originally,
question.
I know, right? I'm originally from Prince George's County, Maryland, gorgeous Prince George's, born and raised. And then I went to undergrad at Clark University up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Did my 4 years there, and then I went to Johns Hopkins for a master's in health science and epidemiology. And during or shortly after that time, I went abroad to pursue football full time. And I did that in Zambia. That was an amazing experience. And now I'm back in the US and I'm working full time as an epidemiologist and coaching soccer as well. And
Period.
that's where we're at right now.
That's right. I know that's right. Okay, so let's start back in PG County. So, number one, like, I think PG produces a lot of athletes, period, right? But it's definitely big, football, basketball. Talk to me a little bit about your start with soccer. I did a little research, right? I know that you got started like taking soccer seriously a little later than people normally do. So,
Mhm.
just talk to me a little bit about, that experience right there.
Yeah, so PG is definitely there is a very strong athletic influence, but I think there's just kind of like an air of excellence, people would say in general. So whatever it is that you're going to pursue it in excellence. You know what I mean? That's kind of like um, the general vibe of like growing up in PG. But like you said, like soccer is not really as common compared to basketball and football. I think I do have a lot of friends that grew up in PG that excelled at soccer, but a lot of them I noticed like they played club soccer elsewhere, like usually like Montgomery County, or they went to like a private school like
Mhm.
in DC or just elsewhere. So I didn't really have that influence, and I feel like I went to public school my whole life, so just having that, like having a model of saying like, okay, I know this person is a few years older than me, we go to the same school, like I saw them go and play club soccer, and then they did this and this, and then they committed to college. Like I didn't really have that influence, whereas like at my high school, we had like big name basketball coaches, big name football coaches. Like I remember one time, one time my freshman year of high school, I'm walking down the hallway to like use the bathroom. Like everyone's in class, and I'm in the hallway about to go use the bathroom. I see one of our like star football players walking down the hallway with the Ohio State head football coach. And then I'm in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they're supposed to come to you. Like I didn't know like how the recruiting process worked for soccer. So I was just thinking like, oh, they like come to you and you don't really have to do much. That's not the case for soccer. Like you do have to be, I would say, way more proactive than
Mhm.
for football or basketball. Yeah, just like the culture of like college recruitment is way different. I just didn't know that.
Mhm.
And I'm playing soccer, and like my parents were very supportive of me playing sports. But it was like you can play any sport that you want. You know, I come from a basketball family. My parents played basketball. So I played basketball, I played soccer. I grew up playing other sports too. Like I did tennis for a bit, I did dance, I did swimming, like I did everything, you know, like
Mhm.
it's like just go and be active. Like
Right.
they never expected me like, oh, you have to get like an athletic scholarship. Like it was like, no, you have to get an academic scholarship, you know? So that was like the main priority. But then when I started getting better at soccer and then I started looking around at like other people like committing to schools, like girls my age, I'm like, what is different from me compared to them? And I'm like, they're all on club teams.
Mhm.
So I'm like, maybe that's where I need to start. So I, you know, reached out to a bunch of club teams. Teams were telling me like, and then it's like that, the other thing of like, you know, PG public schools haven't really produced too many high level players. So they're like, where have you played at? I'm like, oh, I played for my high school. And they're like, what high school
Okay.
do you know at? Like, you don't know, you know, there's not really like that same prestige. Whereas like we've produced a lot of like NBA, WNBA players, like stuff like that, you know? So a lot of teams they didn't want to take a chance on me or like I went to a few tryouts and they were like you can be a practice player. I'm like I can't get recruited as a practice player. I got to go to the tournaments. So then my it was like I had talked to the coach right after their Disney showcase, which is like the
Yeah, I'm
Christmas.
knowing volleyball has that too. Yeah, we go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
we go to
yeah.
Orlando.
Yeah, yeah, that one. So he was literally like they were on their way back from that tournament and he was like, let's like get on a phone call. So we spoke on the phone and then he was like, come out to a practice. So this had to have been like December, January time, right? Of my junior year. Mind you, like girls in my grade are already committed. So then I went out to a practice and like these girls had been together for years, like been on the same team for years. So I'm the new girl. And then after the training, he was like, you can definitely play in college. This is the first time in my life anybody had ever told me that.
Hmm.
So like just having like that validation to say like, okay, like, you know, seeing having somebody see that potential in me, like that really did a lot for me. And like that coach, I owe him so much. Like he really like showed me how to do it. He was like, you're gonna email the coaches, like this is a general, you know, template of what you can say. This is how the recruiting process works. Like he really put me on and he didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Because he had
Yeah.
already like his fair share of girls like committed. Like he didn't have to add me to the team that late. He didn't have to help me. So just that whole experience really meant a lot to me.
And I think that's interesting too, because like volleyball is similar where like you only get recruited from club. Like it's
Exactly.
just, if you're not in like a Nebraska, Wisconsin, California, like no one's coming to these high school games, especially not
Mhm.
coaches. Like you have to be at the tournaments and you have to be on a club
Exactly.
team and you have to
And
be
you
on a
have the
decent
money.
club team.
Have to have the money.
Yeah,
So
and oh, that's another thing because these sports are expensive.
very,
Yeah, that's
very.
it. Let's see. Okay, we gonna come back to that, but these sports are very expensive. Okay, so from there, you end up at Clark University, and I just want to hear about your experience being at Clark, because you know Clark is a bubble, and it is its own place. There is no
Yeah.
place like Clark University.
No
For those
place.
who don't know, Clark University is in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's like an hour away from Boston. I think its claim to fame is having the most dangerous, like, what's that called? Intersection, that Kelly Square or
Oh,
something like
Kelly
that.
Square. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in like the Guinness World Book of
Is it?
Records or something. That's what I heard while I was out
I
there.
did not know that.
Yeah,
And I was a
but
tour guide, so I probably should know that, but
I
that's
don't.
okay.
That was something I always heard like randomly. But
Right.
4 years playing soccer at Clark, a
Mhm.
year during COVID, which
Yeah.
was just, you know, yeah. But what was that like for you?
Clark was unlike anything I had ever experienced in my life.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, and like in a good and a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really know at all what to expect. So on my club team, like in high school, for 90% of the time, I was the only black girl on the team. We had another black girl that joined us like very briefly, but then I don't know, I can't remember what happened. But anyway, so I was the only girl, only black girl on the team. So then when I'm going to Clark, I'm like thinking to myself, like, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be at club. It's gonna be like being at club all the time. That's what I told myself. Like that's how I was like mentally preparing myself. And that did not prepare me.
Never does.
It
It
never does.
never does.
But I feel like being at Clark really opened my eyes up because coming from PG is a bubble too.
This is true.
Like,
It's definitely like completely like opposite ends of like the spectrum culturally. Like,
yeah,
and I think like Clark is cool too in that like that was the first time I was exposed to that many other cultures in general because like that was where I learned the difference between like nationality, ethnicity, because we just like being from the South,
yeah,
we don't do a lot of that. But
right, right.
it's definitely a bubble in that like you're either I think for a lack of actual demographics, you're probably either white, black, or you're Caribbean, African. You're not from America.
Right,
So I
right.
think that was the first time I had experienced that, but the majority is still white.
Yes. So yeah, it was very different. And I feel like it did open my eyes up a lot to racism because I feel like growing up in PG, obviously you have structural racism, there's a ton of classism,
Mm-hmm.
but like face to face, somebody being racist,
Overt. Yeah,
I had not experienced that,
Mhm.
you know, or like if I did, it was rare. It was very rare.
Mhm.
So having those experiences and that really showed me like, oh wait, this is what the rest of America is like.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying too? And it's interesting to me because people from Massachusetts, they love to say, "Oh, it's so liberal, like it's the we always vote blue." I'm like, my personal interactions are not saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways.
But I feel like it also I learned a lot about myself and like my leadership qualities and like the type of person I am because I had never been put in scenarios like that where I had to like do the educating. Not that I should have had to do that, but it did
Mhm.
teach me a lot about myself and what my values are and what I won't go for, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like sometimes other people might get put in a situation like that. And obviously it's very uncomfortable sometimes. And they might just sit back and be like, oh, well, it's me versus all of them. Like I
Mhm.
can't do anything about it. But I didn't really take that approach. Like
Mhm.
I don't care who you are. Like, if you're saying something I don't like, we're gonna talk about it.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be disrespectful. I'm only gonna be disrespectful if you're being disrespectful.
Right.
That's really the person I am. So
Mhm.
I feel like it really taught me a lot about myself, my morals and values. And I feel like it really shaped me into the person I am today. Like I'm so big when it comes to like advocacy work. And I feel like I really got that foundation when I was at Clark. Because I didn't really have any opportunity to pursue that prior to college, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
I think that's a very good take on it because I do think I always say I never regret going to Clark. Like I
Mhm.
learned so much. I had a blast while I was there, but I knew that I could not stay there. Because like at that time too, I was the only black girl on the volleyball team. And I had been that before, but this
Yeah.
was like
It's
this
hard when it's all the time.
this is a lot. And then also I felt like there was a lack of connection, but then a large amount of tokenism. And
Yes. Mhm.
so exhausting
Yeah,
to
it
go
is.
like to be you have the nerve to have me at photo ops knowing it's only one of me. Are we okay?
Yeah, literally. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that like, you know, BSU and Cake and like all these organizations were doing, I think a lot of that came like after you were there.
Mhm.
Like the photo, like the tokenism photo thing, like with BSU, like I think that started after you left. So I think like we were starting the conversations that needed to be had.
Mhm.
And I hope that it's continuing.
Right,
And I think a lot of it too is just like within athletics specifically, because Clark attracts a very specific demographic of people
for
that
sure.
doesn't necessarily extend into athletics. People in athletics are there for sports. They're
Mhm.
not there because it's liberal. They're not there because it's like, oh, keep Clark weird. Ooh, did I cut out?
No, you good.
Oh,
I heard
okay.
the key part weird. Yeah, I know it though. I agree.
They don't care about that, you know? So it's like they don't care to be like socially or morally responsible. They're just there for their sport.
Right.
I think there was like a very large disconnect between the athletes and the general like rest of campus vibe.
Yeah.
Not that the rest of campus was like super liberal, but you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of like performative, like, you know, but another conversation.
Okay, okay. Very real. Okay, so I went to Clark because I was a also at the time a marine biology major. I think I read that you were a psych major,
Yes, I
and
was a
that's
psych
why you chose.
major, bio minor. Yeah.
Okay, so we went from Clark, and I think also too one thing that's important to note is that like Clark is D3, but Clark is also a different D3 because you're in the same area that you're competing with the MITs and all these other like prestigious universities that are also very good in their sports.
Very good.
So, a very rigorous athletic schedule
Hmm.
on top of your class schedule because they also want to keep up with all of these
Yeah,
universities in the area.
right.
So we go from there to Johns Hopkins. Talk to me about like your playing journey, like through all of these experiences, and then like ultimately what led you to being on the national team in Zambia.
Yeah, it was definitely a very non-traditional journey, I would say. Like I feel like most of the time it's like girls are like, I'm gonna do my 4 years, then I'm gonna, get an agent, go pro, like, do like that's kind of like the path. Or maybe they'll even leave college early to pursue an opportunity playing full time.
Right.
In my case, that was not really on my radar at all. Like I said, I come from a very academically oriented family.
Hmm.
So my plan was I want to play in college. Like that was my goal, and I achieved that goal. And I was like, I'm gonna be the best player I can be in college.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I had no sights to play after college. And then especially because my senior year was the COVID year.
Hmm.
I kind of just like, kind of lost some steam, lost momentum. And I was like, well, it kind of sucks to end my career this way, but I mean, I was like, oh, I had a great 3 years. I considered staying at Clark like for my fifth year, and I got into the fifth year program, but it wasn't in a degree that would have made sense for me in my life. I think it was public administration, which is like it has nothing to do with like what I'm interested in. I just
Yeah.
would have done it like to keep playing soccer really and to have my senior year back. But also at the time, like there was no guarantees that we were gonna have a season
Right.
like that following year. So I was like, this doesn't really make sense. So then I started thinking about like, okay, what do I want to do after college? And I was like, I definitely want to you know, keep pursuing academics. I didn't really know in what way. I had looked at different fellowship programs, and I actually got accepted into the Princeton in Africa Fellowship, which is a 1 year program. And I was supposed to do that in Eswatini, but it ended up being remote. So
Mm.
I was like, if I can't go there, I'm not gonna
I'm
do it.
not doing this.
Yeah, so that kind of sucked. And then so then I applied to grad programs, and I was like really interested in public health at the time because I had done a few different internships like over the my college summers
Mhm.
like in public health government offices or like whatever have you. So I knew that that's what I was interested in. So I applied to master's programs, and I applied to Hopkins, Columbia, UCLA, Hopkins, Columbia, UCLA, and Oxford. I think those were the ones. I feel like I'm missing one. And I got into all of them except for Oxford. Hopkins, I think, just made the most sense for me because, I'm from Maryland originally and it's right there. And I feel like just also with Hopkins, it was kind of like it was a very surreal feeling
Mhm.
growing up, growing up in Maryland and seeing Johns Hopkins. It always kind of seemed like an insurmountable achievement.
Yeah.
You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And we read
Like
like
bucket list stuff.
yeah, and we like read like Gifted Hands in elementary school. And I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, like Johns Hopkins, like that's like you have to be insanely smart. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna apply because I feel like I am smart, and I have achieved things, and why should I feel like I can't do this? Because, other people, and then it's just like the other thing of like, sometimes you don't have the best academic advisor, like the person in your ear telling you like maybe you can't do this. And it's like you really shouldn't listen to them, to be honest. Like,
Mhm.
if you really just have to have that like unwavable faith first in God and
Mhm.
yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you have those things, go for what you want to go for.
Mhm.
So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna apply. So I applied and I got in with a pretty good scholarship. So I was like, all right, we're gonna go to Hopkins. And the rest is history.
Period. And that's also like a really good segue into like this idea of imposter syndrome that I feel
Yes.
like, especially as a female athlete, but also like a female in your career. These are
Yes.
all just things that exist. Like, I think they exist way more for us
Hmm.
than men a lot of times, but specifically like being a woman of color, like in these spaces, like it's a
Yeah.
hard thing to like navigate at times. So
Right.
what are some things maybe that you've done in that sense of like you said, like you bet on yourself?
Hmm.
What are some things that you do to kind of like ground yourself in that like, hey, like actually I can do all of these things.
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like my tactics have changed a bit since I've gotten older. Like, for example, when I first made the varsity soccer team, right? The way that I gain more confidence, because I feel like if, as a player in any sport, if you don't have confidence, you don't have anything.
Right.
You can't play without confidence, you know? So, what I would tell myself before every game, I would tell myself in my head, I would say, they need you.
Mm-hmm.
They need you to win this game. Even if that was the furthest thing from the truth. I could be playing 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I would tell myself they need you to the point where like I got so good that they actually did need me. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So like that was kind of like the start of like I think self-talk is great for athletes, for academics, like whatever it is. And that just goes back to like the self-belief, having audacity. Sometimes you just have to be audacious, you
Period.
know?
Because
Like
that
just
way it's
because
gonna
they
do
think
it.
that you can't do it, that doesn't mean that you should tell yourself you can't do it.
Right.
And I feel like as I got older, like I started to see these people that we've put on this pedestal, whether it's amazing athletes or whether it's like, these academics that you're like, I've read, their work before and they're winning this accomplishment and that award and whatever. It's like when you actually get in the room with them, when you get face to face with them, you realize they're just people. They make mistakes too,
Mm-hmm.
and then not that you should be out here like comparing yourself to people, but I feel like, especially in soccer, like when I started to join teams or like get tryouts and stuff like that, and I would be face to face with these girls, it's like, I know you, like I know I've watched your game before, and it's like, wait, like I can actually compete with you.
Right.
And I feel like that really just like kind of shatters that whole glass ceiling thing of saying like, well, this person has this trainer, like they went to like this Division 1 school and like where they have this agent, whatever. It's like, no, like let's get in the same room. Let's get face to face,
Right.
So I feel like just betting on yourself, like not always putting people up on a pedestal, like that kind of stuff has been really helpful for me. Again, the self-talk, like self-talk is huge. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like whenever I start to doubt myself, I just think about first off, think about who I am, like what I'm
That
actually,
girl, thank you.
and it's like, even if you haven't achieved as much or like you're not necessarily where you want to be, it has to start with your own belief in yourself. It
Mm-hmm.
has to. You have to be your biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a firm believer of that.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we go from Johns Hopkins to playing for the national team. Like, where in the most layman's of terms, because I think also a really big thing that I want to promote with this podcast is that there's so many different ways to play or be involved with your game at different levels in different aspects. I think that there are just things we don't know. And
Yes.
this is the way to bridge that. This is the way to say, like, girl, I did it, you can do it.
Right. It really, no, it really is like, it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. I feel like, well, okay, at least in my experience, I would say.
Hmm.
But also, you just have to kind of like, my journey is a leap of faith.
Hmm.
Every day I'm leaping. I
Hmm.
don't know where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I might as well try.
Hmm.
Like even now, I don't know what's next for me, but I know whatever is next is going to be great. And
Hmm.
it's going to be a learning lesson. I'm always going to have something to take from it. But so from Hopkins to Zambia, this was an interesting one. So when I was at Clark, like every like few years, my like soccer pictures, like my soccer videos would like start circulating like on like within Zambian Facebook, we'll say. So then like people are like, oh, we need to get this girl in Zambia. Like she's half Zambian. She can qualify to play for the national team, whatever, whatever. And I grew up very heavily invested in my Zambian culture because my mom always made a point to me to make sure that I know my roots. I know my family. Like I talk to my family all the time. We would go home to Zambia pretty frequently.
Hmm.
Um, so it was not like a foreign concept to me of like what is Zambia about or anything like that. But I had always like had that desire to learn more. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Because as much as I talk to family, as much as I, go home to visit every few years, it's still not enough.
Right.
It's never enough. So, um, I think, yeah, so COVID kind of derailed things. I'm at Hopkins at this point, and I'm not playing.
Mm-hmm.
I started coaching high school, and I was like playing like for fun. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Then, a my like videos or pictures or whatever like went viral again.
Mm-hmm.
And then a club team in Zambia, the owner reached out to me randomly on Facebook. I don't even know how I saw this message because I don't check my Facebook
You
that
on
often
Facebook, yeah.
on Facebook like that, but I happened to see the message and he was like, "Hey, like I've seen like your soccer videos. We would love to have you." Oh, let me backtrack. I had actually the previous time I had gone to Zambia, I left my paperwork with the football association there, but they had just started allowing dual citizenship like
Oh,
around the time, like 2017, 2018. So I'm sure that it was like a more involved process than we were aware of, but it just kind of fell through. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, next time I go back or whatever, I'm also not playing full time. So like I can't really expect much. So then he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, we saw your videos. Like, we're really interested to have you. We can do like a short-term contract, and maybe it will make the football association like be a little bit quicker to act."
mm-hmm.
So this was like the spring break of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually supposed to go to Spain with my friends for spring break. I had booked my flight and everything. But there was just something in me that was like, no, you should go to Zambia.
Uh-huh.
I still got my flight voucher though for Spain.
I know
So
that's right. Okay, I was gonna say, is it refundable?
right, exactly. So I ended up booking a trip to Zambia and I was supposed to be there for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But mind you, I'm in school at full
Mm-hmm.
time in person at Hopkins. And I ended up staying for like 3 months. So that was kind of like how that happened.
So what about school? What did you do? Like you told the professor, hey, you guys, I just gotta.
Yeah, so it was kind of crazy. So Hopkins works on a quarter schedule. So
Okay.
I had known about the Zambia opportunity in the third quarter.
Okay.
I was planning my classes for fourth quarter. I only picked one in-person class.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so and then I mean that professor was very nice and she worked with me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of them were remote. So I mean, I was up in the middle of the night watching class for sure. But
So this
we
was
made
also like great timing as well.
yeah,
God don't play about nothing, okay?
divine timing for sure. So yeah, I ended up staying in Zambia until like May, I think, something like that. And then that's when I got capped with the national team. I came home for the summer, was just training, studying, I think I had internships, like all of that as usual. Um, and then I went back to Zambia that fall, like that August.
Mm-hmm.
And by this time, this was my second, no, I think this was the end of my second year at Hopkins. So at that point, I just had to do my thesis and I had already collected all of my data. So I was just in the writing mode of it, which they said I could do that remotely. So that did work out very well. And it was definitely a huge mindset shift because at this time, the summer before, I had interned at a very successful consulting firm in New York City. And
Mm-hmm.
I loved the firm. Like I did well. I was like, I really enjoyed the internship. They enjoyed me. They offered me a full-time job for post-grad
Mm-hmm.
and I accepted it. But then
Oh my
but
God.
then when Zambia called, um, I decided that, I'd rather take this opportunity. And then they said that they were understanding of this, once in a lifetime opportunity. So maybe down the road I'll return to consulting.
Yeah.
But I had to take the opportunity to go back to Zambia, if not for football, just to go back
Right.
and like, experience living there. Like I had always wanted to live there. I was looking to do a Fulbright scholarship there at one point, but they like for certain countries they require your research to be on a certain topic, and for Zambia it was agriculture. And I was like, I don't think I can like figure out how to
Read
make this
that.
work.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had always been so eager to go back and live there. So when the opportunity was presented to me, I was like, I feel like I'd be dumb not to take this, you
Right.
know?
And that's one of those things I think too, like what passes you by just wasn't meant for you. And if it passes, you know what I'm saying? Like when these things come back around, like nothing that passes you by was a missed opportunity. The things come when they're meant to come. So I think
Yes,
that's one of those things as well. Like timing always, these things have a way of working themselves out. So I
exactly.
think that's really cool. And I think that's also really important to note that I was a person who was like very into my academics as well. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to love your sport and to love what you do, but also find that balance of like these are the other things in my life that also matter. And sometimes, we don't always know where our sport is going to take us. So like I actually do have to make sure that this school stuff is together and that I have
Right.
these things in line. So, along with that, like just in terms of balance, how have you been able to balance like maybe a social life, maybe dating, like all these things that come with just being a regular person and
Yeah.
then also being an athlete and being an academic and a professional?
Yeah. I feel like the biggest thing to me is staying true to myself. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is like when I was in my grad program, and, I had my academic advising and the advisors asking me like, what else do you have going on? It's like, well, I play soccer for fun and I coach high school. This was like when I was coaching high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have this internship and I do that. And then she's like, well, maybe you should drop the soccer. Like, do you need to coach right now? And like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I feel like in a lot of circumstances, like not even just academics, not just athletics, but in a lot of um like experiences, people want you to just be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that might work for other students. I am more dimensional than that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want academics to be my whole life. I don't want soccer to be my whole life. It's a big part of my life. It's a huge part of my identity. It's
Mm-hmm.
not my end all be all.
Right.
It can't be. It can't be. You cannot put everything that is who you are into one thing. Because if that thing gets taken from you, who are you?
What? Yeah.
Who are you? So I feel like sometimes people would try to put things on me and say like I'm not balancing my things properly or I don't have my priorities straight. I know what my priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't create priorities for me,
Exactly.
So and if I do make a mistake, whose mistake is that? It's mine.
Yeah.
It's mine to own, it's mine to learn from, it's mine to grow from. So I feel like that was the biggest thing for me is just staying true to myself and what makes me happy and what makes me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
That was for me, that was always very important to me, like finding my balance and owning that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And being that you've been in all of these spaces now, because I think, again, like I just keep at the forefront. Like there were so many things that I didn't know as an athlete, as a college student, just looking to like go through life. But then also, like, I don't know, there were so many things I wanted to do and so many things I was interested in. Um, Being that you coach high school kids, what are some things that maybe you tell them? Like that are specific to you though, like not just broad life, not reach for the stars, but that are
Yeah.
specific to your experience that you
Mhm.
tell them to kind of just pass on the knowledge.
Yeah. I tell them like I feel like high school, at least. So right now I'm coaching middle schoolers and like 9 and 10-year-olds.
Hmm.
I've transitioned a bit, but when I was coaching high school, I feel like a lot of them they have such extreme tunnel vision or
Hmm.
like they're very like short, like the thinking is very like immediate,
Hmm.
like the instant gratification, you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? But not in the sense of like in the positive way, more in the negative way. Like, oh my gosh, if I fail this test, like my life is over. I'm never gonna get into that school that I wanted to get into. You know what I'm saying? And it's like to the point where they don't necessarily like have that balance. They're like some of them are so all in on one thing, whether that's like a lot of my girls were like all in on academics because we did go to like it was a public school, but it was a very like academically rigorous school, I would say.
Hmm.
A lot of them are all in on academics. Some of them are all in on soccer, like whatever the case is, like to the point where it's like you have tunnel vision and you can't see anything else. hindsight is 2020, obviously, but I think even when I was in high school, I had the wherewithal to be a bit more like well-rounded. I think being well-rounded is so important. And it's like, if you're meant to be at this school, like because you failed this one test doesn't mean you're not going to get in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or like, I don't know. I just feel like they just put so much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
It's like now is the easiest time of
Of
your
your
life.
life.
Like have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't like any standout academic student in high school. I was like a very like especially for my science program, I was a very average student.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I try to tell them, like, look at everything that I've accomplished. Like, look at the schools that I've been to. Like, look at the awards that I've gotten. And I did not lose sleep if I didn't do well on one exam.
Right.
I just try to tell them, like, just have, like, just keep that in mind. There's
Mm-hmm.
no need to stress over, just don't stress that much. There's no
Mm-hmm.
need. It's unnecessary.
This is cute.
I feel like just in life too, because that's what I just keep trying to tell myself, especially being like 20 somethings. Like I know you can relate. It's like 20 somethings is ghetto and it's
Girl,
tough sometimes. It's really tough
adulthood is the
because like
worst hood.
transitioning from college to like full-time working and you have bills and all that stuff, like it can be a really, really hard transition. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a hard transition for a lot of people, but like just trying not to stress myself out too much about it. Just taking it one day at a time, put one foot in front of the other. Like it's gonna get done and you're gonna do great. That's just what I tell myself.
Outside, what does life look like for you outside of soccer, outside of work?
That is a great question.
Because I think sometimes too, it's as women, we get policed differently, right? So we can live the same life as everybody else, but it just has to look a little different. I can't post the same thing that everybody else can post.
Yeah.
There are all these different like things, but at the same time, like I'm still living life,
Like,
navigating. Yeah. So also just like letting kind of people know it's okay, actually. It's
yeah,
okay to live life.
it really is though. And I feel like even just telling yourself that, like, it's okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
or enjoyment is okay.
Mm-hmm.
It life is interesting. It's funny that you say that because I feel like in your 20 somethings, it's like I feel like when you're younger, you have tangible things to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, okay, let me get through freshman year and then I have sophomore year. Okay, let
Mm-hmm.
me get through sophomore year, then I have junior year. Okay, let me get this internship. Like it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like it's a kind of like an instant gratification thing in a way
Yeah.
of like you're meeting these milestones. Like, okay, I'm in my own apartment now, like whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like,
What
you
is the
have
next thing?
these
Mm-hmm.
demarcations. But then when you're in your 20 somethings, like what is that thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I feel like especially for me, it's been so interesting because when I was 19,
Mm-hmm.
you said, Inonge, where are you going to be when you're 25? I would have had an exact answer and
Yeah.
an exact time, an exact date. At 7 p.m. on this day, I'm going to be doing this. What?
Had to plan. Had
Had
to
the plan.
plan.
Now, if you ask me, what am I having for dinner? I don't know.
Hello.
You
What's
know what I'm saying? So I feel like I've had to, the past few years, like I've had to become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
And like you said, like being dynamic and like being able to reinvent yourself, like, and not having any shame in it. And like, I feel like if you try something and if it doesn't work out, like, what's the shame in that?
Mm-hmm.
There was no problem. It just wasn't for you, or maybe not at that time, maybe not in that place. It's just a redirection. It's not
Right.
like you failed. So I feel like that's been a big thing. And in this new transition, like I just moved into this new apartment. I moved down to Orlando in like April, I guess.
Okay.
I moved into this new apartment in June. And like this is the first place that I've had to like furnish myself and like I have to big oof.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've had to like figure out paying bills and like all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to set up. It's a
And
lot. Like
it's
figure
so funny because we train all these years in our sport. We train all these years in our sport, academically, all these things. But ask me where I'm supposed to go to pay this water bill. Girl, I don't taxes? Hello? What is that?
My water bill, I set it up to be like automated and
Everything is automated. I found everything once and never looked at it again.
because you could not, you could, gun to my head, tell me, oh, how do you access your water bill? I don't know.
I don't know.
Be gentle. Like
Oh,
what? Crazy. But
oh,
yeah, I feel like just having to like work through this transition and kind of like I feel like a big thing for me now is like figuring out community down here. Like I'm really big on community. Like I loved my community down in PG. Like those I grew up with everybody, you know? So moving to a new place and it's the first time I made a move like not for soccer, not for school, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
not for study abroad. Like I'm just in a new place
Right.
and I'm working and it's like how do you I feel like Ayala needs to be a part of this conversation.
Oh my gosh. Ayala's coming up here next weekend. We're
Yes.
going to see Klein. Klein lives in Dallas. I know. I said, you know what's so crazy? I said, how we get a Nage in this?
Hey, yeah, because what? That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow, I'm
Mhm.
jealous. But it's like, how do you authentically like create community in your 20 somethings without school, without sports? Like, I mean, obviously, like I'm still playing for fun and I'm like, creating networks through soccer, obviously, but just in general, like, how do you, but I feel like also it's so interesting because the people that I've made friends with down here, some of
Mhm.
them are from here and they don't really have many friends here. So I'm like, you grew up
Mm.
here, but you don't have like many, you don't have like your high school friends or like anything. Like I have friends from elementary school in
That you
PG
feel.
that I would
But
see
you know what? I think it's niche for some people because I think when I got to DC, I had a homegirl that I'm very close with, and she was from like Southeast, grew up there, had never gone like most of the places that I started just kind of like branching out and just hobby random type stuff exploring in
regularly.
DC. She's like, "Oh, I've never been here." And I'm like, "Isn't this like very DC coded?" And it's like I think when you're right there and you grow up in it, maybe it's just one of those you take it for granted almost. It's like I don't need to see this like it's
Right,
right here. It's been here forever, but I need to see it before. So I think that's also too like it's a little novel to us. So we're like, okay, let me go see this. And then
right.
yeah. But I think I agree with that. Community is huge. And I think that's why I also love DC so much because I created such a large community that I'm like, ooh,
Someday I'll return to the DMV. But yeah, so I feel like that's been like a big focus for me now, but it's like I don't want to be like, oh, like I need friends. Like, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Because it's
Again, I
also good to sit with yourself.
yes, and I'm in such a huge transition phase of my life. Like I'm trying to figure out like what I like, what I don't like. Because
Right.
like you said, like I'm reinventing myself right now. I'm going from playing soccer full time to now I'm a full-time epidemiologist. What does that look like for me? I've never done that
That's
before.
such a big word. You just my friend's so smart, y'all. Gosh, that's a big word for Elmo.
Stop.
Love that.
But
Hmm.
yeah, so it's been definitely a huge like learning experience for me.
Okay.
Hmm.
CT. And so I think along with that, in terms of the way we see women's sports going right now, what what are you excited about and what do you want to see more of? I think I've spent some time now in just different sports, pro and otherwise, but women's sports and just to see the growth of it's really cool. And like to also kind of have been like some of the like I didn't get necessarily get to be a part of this, but like I laid this groundwork. I was a part of this somewhere. So, but then also to know that there's still so far to go.
Hmm.
So, what are you excited about? And then what do you want to see more of?
So I think like the two big ticket items for me, one is I'm loving the increase in diversity in the women's game in the US specifically, because obviously soccer is a global sport. Like that's never been an issue. But in the US, I think growing up, like we always saw soccer as like, oh, like that's like a white girl sport. Like,
Oh,
you
for
know what
sure.
I mean? But like,
Yes.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like growing up, it's like when you told people you play soccer, it's like, why? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I feel like that is definitely changing. And just with the landscape of the game and like who the big names are that are coming up through like US soccer now, that has been changing and that's been great. But on the other side of the same coin, like classism is still a
Mm-hmm.
huge problem, and the classism goes hand in hand with the diversity issue.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing more Black girls being able to play soccer and succeed at soccer. What kind of jobs do their parents have?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities do they have that other Black girls don't have? What is it about the zip code that they're from?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at the zip codes of where successful soccer players come from, it's all going to be the same little pockets
Right.
of, you know what I'm saying? So the pay to play model is going to continue to be an issue in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it is definitely, as much as women's soccer has grown, it's going to hinder our growth.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I have seen that I really like that people are trying to do to combat that issue is with the rise of youth sports and there's like increased funding of youth sports, there are now like a lot of clubs have scholarship programs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, 9 out of 10 of the girls will pay full price, like the price that you would pay to play on a club team, but their funds work together and the sponsorships work together to pay for the one girl whose parents can't afford, but she has the talent.
Right.
Saying. But obviously there's still going to be barriers because, even if she's getting to play club for free, her parents still have to get her there.
Right.
They have
Traveling
two jobs.
expenses.
At
Mm-hmm.
what time are they gonna, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like there's always gonna be those barriers, but it's things like scholarships, increased funding that are working to alleviate these issues. But at the at the root of the issue, if we continue with pay to play, that's we're never gonna see the growth that we deserve to have.
Right.
So that's my biggest issue right now with especially being so heavily involved with youth sports,
Mm-hmm.
seeing like how I think also like they're really trying to do a better job of like having a pipeline of youth to professional in the US because in Europe and like a lot of other places, they have a very clear pipeline of like this is academy. Like you play academy from this age to this age. If you're good enough, you'll go from academy to the professional full team. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? We've never really had that in the US. And they're
Right.
starting to build it. It's just going to be a matter of like where are we finding the talent from?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's very valid. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I can see that because I think I just had this conversation with volleyball as well. Just like with volleyball also being a very large sport that is popular overseas. And we're
Yeah.
just now getting to the point where we're getting pro teams here. But even if you have pro teams here, it's not many. So they're only taking the Nebraska, Wisconsin, Stanford,
Yeah.
Penn State girlies. Like they're taking the best of the best,
Right.
which is valid, but it
How did
leaves
they get
exactly, and it leaves very little room, and it's expensive. I literally just said this the other day that volleyball is a white girl sport, and that's not to say that the sport is not growing, but classism does keep people out.
there?
If you're gonna play for a club, you may not be able to play for the best club because who can afford that?
Yep.
Hello?
That. And then my whole thing, like club really blows my mind because you can't use a lot of the times you can't use club as a pathway to save money. Like if you're
Mhm.
saying like, oh, I'm gonna put my kid in youth sports so that therefore they can get an athletic scholarship and then go to college for free. My friend, you've already paid the price of college.
Hello? 12 times
By
over,
the time they
actually.
leave seventh grade. You know what
Hello?
I'm saying? So it's like it's the people that are doing it for the glory or for the name versus like they need it. Like I
Yeah.
feel like in like basketball and football, like sports that you would more commonly see out of PG, it's like no, you need that athletic scholarship. It's different.
Hmm.
It's a different environment. That's why the recruiting is different.
Hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
And even like in the differences in clubs, it's not to say that one club that is less expensive is not that doesn't have as talented coaches as this other club, but this other club probably has its own facility. This
They
other
have
club puts, hello? It just is that. It is that. They have the time, the money, the capital, and the name to invest.
because you know what it is like these big name clubs, they're in the pockets of the colleges to the
It's
point
a
where
pipeline
like
for sure.
a pipeline, so where like a coach can say a coach has two girls, right?
Mhm.
This girl, she plays for Club A. Club A has the craziest facilities,
Mhm.
they have the name, all of this, and she's like a mediocre player.
Mhm.
Then he has this girl where she comes from a smaller club. She might be a little bit more rough around the edges, like skills wise, but she has way more potential and talent. He's
Mhm.
gonna choose this one because of the name. You know what I'm saying? So it just
He
comes
probably has that coach's contact speed out,
along speed.
actually.
What? Come on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all part of the game. And that's what I'm saying. I hope that people trying to advance the women's game, like we need to start doing it in genuine ways.
Hmm.
Don't take the easy way out. Don't. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm just trying to think of like ways that I can use my expertise, use my experience and my desire to advance the women's game and not be part of the problem, but be part of the solution.
Right.
So, like that's another thing, like in my new role, in my new phase of life, like what am I doing to better the women's game? If I'm not directly playing, but now I'm coaching, you know?
Right. That's
So that's another thing that I am passionate about.
period. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Shout out to Inage, y'all. I just want to give you also this time if there's anything you want to add, but man, like I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I guess all I want to add is like whatever reason that you are watching this episode for, if it was because you care about soccer or you care about, epidemiology or you are from PG County, whatever it is, think about that thing that you've been thinking about pursuing and you're like, I don't know if I should do it. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Just do it.
Hmm.
See what happens. And whatever it is that you endeavor to do in life, like just make sure that you're